Learn and burn. Huh. I give a final punch and step away from the swinging bag. Art said he'd be back in 10 minutes to talk about decisions. I still don't see him. But I look across the gym and see that man in the shadows glaring at me again. Time to confront this guy. I leave the bag and walk across the shadows. My footsteps echo strong and steady. Soon we're face to face. Toe to toe. I glare at him. He glares back. I don't blink. Neither does he. Art comes from his office wearing a white singlet. He puts his hand on my shoulder as I stare at the other guy, myself in the mirror. Joey, Art says and meets eyes with me through our reflections. You're battling with your mind again. I look at myself in the mirror and realize one of the greatest destroyers of my decisions has been myself. I can't beat myself, Art. I say. I feel one thing, have an idea, a passion, and I want to go for it, but my mind shows me how it will fail. Even with marrying Camilla. I look down and pull Art's ring from my pocket. I want to do this, but my mind is too heavy. Art grips my shoulders with his claws. Step into the ring. Art fits on some black gloves and I pull on some red ones. I punch into my left glove. You're too old for this, Art. You're too inexperienced, Art says, looking confident. You can't harmonize your 5 key tools. Art slips in a white mouthguard, punches his gloves and shuffles toward me. 5 tools? I say. We'll start with tool 1. What's that? Art hands me a mouthguard. I place it in and Art punches my stomach. Your gut, he says. I hunch, rub my stomach and straighten up. That was a cheap shot. Life gives cheap shots, Art says. Life doesn't fight fair. Never has. Never will. It's up to us to be ready. Well, my gut's a little sore now. Art moves around the ring, trying to make his old creaky knees dance. You felt that, huh? He says. I dance and shuffle around with Art, take a few air shots. You're gonna feel a lot more. Art smiles and throws a few jabs. Some I dodge, some I block. Who taught you to defend like that, champ? Art says. Yeah, I say, stop bragging about your expertise. We know you are a good trainer. And who's telling you what moves to make now? Art swings and I duck. My instinct. Was your instinct this good when you first stepped into a ring? Art says. No, I say, recalling my first fight where I was knocked down and hurt too much to stand back up. Got my face punched in. Got it slapped by you the first time I asked for a job too. I remember that evening. It was a good evening, Art says, smiling, no doubt recalling the memory of him slapping me. So your instinct is developed through proper training, Art says and takes a swing at me and I dodge it. I nod and we both smile. The greater your training, the greater your gut, your instinct. If you haven't been trained to be a boxer, then you won't be as good at boxing than if you had have been trained. Yeah, well, that's obvious. I do a jelly shake to emphasize my point. Obvious, Art says, pointing his black glove in my face. But often overlooked. Simple but powerful. Art fakes, then slips a jab into my ribs. But I still get hit now and then, I say, and pretend my ribs don't hurt. I never said your instinct was perfect. What is? But it's the best you have. Or maybe it's not your instinct at fault when you take a hit. Maybe your skills, your hands are not up to the task. I slip a jab into Art's ribs. These hands are up to the task, brother. Art rubs his side and laughs. Not bad, champ. Still, that principle of learning first, training, taking in knowledge, it works with all things in life. If you want to be a writer, learn to write. If you want to be a bullfighter, learn to fight bulls. A football player, learn football. Then your instincts in that field will be their sharpest and make the best decisions for you. Tuition then intuition. The rule is, Art says, tuition then intuition. Explain. I throw out my hands. Why can't Art be clearer sometimes? Thought I just did. Art smiles and nearly loses his mouthguard, which makes me smile. Okay, settle down, champ. What I mean is, first you are taught. Taught by the best you can find, do the best you can to understand the rules, know the techniques, the styles. Then break the rules. I'm sure my face is a mess of confusion right now. Break the rules? You do that by following your intuition in that field, Art says. You are taught, then when you have a good understanding you break away. Break away. Break from what's been done by others their way. And do things your way. Tuition, then intuition. Got it, I say. Not yet, you haven't, Art says, throwing a punch that hits nothing but air. Remember when we talked about Mozart? My head and eyes roll back purely on intuition. Here we go again. It takes repetition to learn, Art says. So we'll explain tuition. Tuition involves learning all the correct principles. The principles must become your convictions, your beliefs, no one else's. You can't force anyone to believe, they must decide on their own convictions. Then once you have mastered the principles, the rules of your chosen craft or profession, break the rules. That's when I break the rules, I say. Mozart and Chopin both knew the principles of music, Art says. Both had tuition. Then both went on intuition, and used those principles to make great music. Both made music unique to them. Both done it with their intuition. Both were great. I see, I say. In life, learn the principles that work, Art says. Build yourself from within first, a firm foundation of knowledge and wisdom. Then blaze your own path. There is unlimited, beautiful music to be made from within the principles of music. Go beyond those sound principles and play out of key, and the music is very ordinary. But within the principles is unlimited freedom to create beauty. That is true. It is amazing how there is unlimited great music with only a certain amount of keys and notes. Art nods. Same with life principles. Learn the best principles of life. Then blaze a path of your own life. Unique to you and brilliant. Breaking the rules and blazing my own path does sound exciting. Never thought I could have that possibility. But what was Art meaning about principles? That sounds spot on, but you did say break the rules. Now you're saying stick within the principles. Principles never change, Art says. They're the enduring truths that work. You stick with them. The rules are what have been done before, what others have done that works for them. You break through those rules and follow your path with the right principles. Make it uniquely your own. Like you drive your car the correct way, use the accelerator to speed up, brakes to stop. That's the principles. The rules are the direction you drive in. You can drive anywhere you want to go, drive where no one else has been before, just drive the car correctly. Got it. Art lands a glove on my chin, my mouth guard flies from my mouth and hits the canvas. I rub my jaw, then shove the guard back in. You still got power in that old body. Art smiles. Technique. Yeah, technique, I say. But what you're saying about learning your field, mastering your craft, what has that got to do with decision-making? I can't master decision-making. It's not a field. At least I don't think it is. And like I said before, I've always been good with my hands, not my mind. That's not true, Art says. Yes it is, I say. I'll prove it isn't. Art's muscles rip under his dark skin, contrasting against his white singlet. He lunges forward and swings for my ribs. I block and he goes for the uppercut. I feint back and avoid it. He goes right, left, right, jab, jab, jab. I move, I swerve, avoiding them all. Art takes a breath and wipes his forehead. See, proved it. You proved nothing, I say. Nothing except I can dodge a punch. Most punches anyway. Art moves around the ring, and the moon comes through the window and shines on his silver hair. Did you dodge my gloves with your hands or you mind? I stare at Art, holding my dukes to my chin, then drop them to my hips. Smart Alec. I point to Art's smug, smiling face. That's what you are, Art. No. You're smart, Joey, Art says. You simply don't realize it. Your mind acted on instinct to avoid those hits. It had been trained, then it acted. Even without training, you still would have dodged a few punches, but not as well with the training. Still, it was your mind being led by instinct. Your instinct making fast, brilliant decisions. The best we got. The moon dances our shadows across the canvas as we tussle in the ring. Art has still got it. We hit the showers, and Art asks me to step into his office at the back of the gym. I walk in and gaze at the books on the shelf and more books and books, then check out a painting on the wall. Men in suits and ladies in old-time dresses and carrying umbrellas walk across the street in the rain. A horse and cart travel down the middle of the road, passing an old-time phone booth. People drink coffee at a sidewalk cafe. That's Paris. Art comes behind me, sipping a tea. Lucy bought the painting over there on our 20th anniversary. Looks nice. I've never been. Art hands me a tea, the cup's hot. And you never will, he says. Unless you do something about it. We sit at Art's desk, sipping peppermint tea. I press my finger on the roof of his red Model 69 Charger and roll it back and forth. Art takes it from me and sits it on the side of the desk, then tells me of his 20th in Paris. After, he takes an old red book from his shelf. The book has someone's name scrawled in gold on the cover, and he plunks it on the table. I pick it up, it's thick and heavy. I place it back down. Art taps it. That's tool 1. Step 1 in making decisions. I raise an eyebrow at the book. I know it sees me. Looks like I'm failing step 1. Art laughs. See these shelves behind me. The packed shelves have a slight bow. Wonder they don't cave in carrying all those books. That's like your brain, your mind, Art says. The shelves would be the storage, and the books are things you feed into your mind, and once your mind takes in the information, your mind can recall any part of that information it needs. How does it do that? I ask. I'm not a psychologist or scientist. Oh. Still, Art says. I know it works. I don't know every detail of the workings of the mind, but who does? But I know enough. If you want to make good decisions, you need to have good information stored into your mind. And like we discussed earlier, take in the information you want to master. Art points to the painting of Paris. If you want to be a painter, learn painting. He points to the old Gibson guitar on the wall. A musician, learn an instrument. Then my mind will bring it out to me, I say, interrupting because I got it. My mind will hand me what I need to paint or play when I need it. It sure will, Art says. You see, if a boy was raised by wolves until he was 30, and then he was found and brought into civilization and was sat at a piano and told to play, he could not play it. I know this sounds simple, but as I said, it gets overlooked. You can only use information and ideas and tools from your mind that you have placed there, Art says with a stern finger pointing at me. I open the cover of the book, flick a few pages, and see an old black and white photo of a man in a suit. What if I hate reading? I say. I mean, I do hate reading. There are 1,000 books on that shelf, I can't read them all. Have you? Art folds his hands together. He's gonna say he's read them all twice. No, I just feel smarter sitting near them. I smile, he fooled me again. But I've read a lot of them, Art says, and still read some each day. But you don't have to read that much. Many of them say much the same thing. There are a few main principles that guide and help us, and it doesn't take 1,000 books to learn them. There are many ways to learn, such as talking to wise people, watching movies. I tilt back on my chair. Movies? Art smiles. Yeah, I know you like movies, champ. So let's use them to illustrate. There's great teaching in movies. The key is to observe the lessons. Some will teach you what to do, some will teach you what not to do. Some will show you principles in life that work when applied. But you must observe and understand. Observe life, people, animals, insects. I burst into laughter. Insects? Art stares at me and lowers his eyebrows. I stop laughing. An ant, what does it do? Art asks. Lifts heavy weight. What else? Art asks, not satisfied with my answer. I twiddle my fingers. Walks around. Walks around. Art leans back on his chair, picks up a pencil and taps it against his lip. Guess they do walk around. Walk around what? I scratch my head. What's this got to do with whether I ask Camilla to marry me? Art leans forward again, creaking his chair. At least I hope it's the chair and not his knees. Everything, he says. Now what do ants walk around? I look to my left, sigh. This is going to take all night. It always takes all night with art. Stuff, I say. Art nods. Stuff, well you're right. They do walk around stuff. Stuff that's in their way. What? I can't believe he thought stuff was a good answer. Ever left out a jar of honey with honey dripping down the sides? Art says. Haven't we all? Pretty quick it's covered in little black ants. What if you put that honey dripping jar high on a shelf? The ants climb the shelf, I say. What if you stuck the jar in a bowl of water and surrounded the jar with water like a moat? I smile at thinking of watching those ants drown, then stop smiling. Camilla wouldn't like that. The ants would be stuffed. Sorry, Camilla, couldn't help it. Ants don't get stuffed, Art says as firmly as a schoolteacher making an important point. They walk around stuff. You said it earlier. They'd make a chain of ants that lead across the water to the jar. Or climb the walls, walk across the ceiling and drop onto the jar. Ants wouldn't do all that, would they? Rubbish. Not rubbish, Art says. I've read about it. Seen it on documentaries. You see what we learn from ants. Ants never give up. Never surrender. They got hustle. You need that kind of hustle to overcome problems in life. And if you marry Camilla, you'll need it to overcome problems in marriage. I stretch and straighten the creak from my back. Guess that's a good lesson. We can learn from life, Art says. Observe it, observe the lessons. And read. Read small portions if that's all you can, and store good information into your mind so you can use the information. Reading will also help you have a positive outlook and keep your mind sharper for good ideas. You can't know about managing money until you have learnt about managing money. You can't know about making money until you have learnt about making money. People skills, boxing, scuba diving, climbing Mount Everest. All require that you learn it. But it must be stored in your mind. Then you can use it. Learn and apply what you learn straight away. Learn and apply. Learn and apply and master. Still, how does that help me make decisions exactly? I ask. Most of the time I'm just not sure which road to take. You know, which decision? Art nods slowly. Your gut. Gut. Instinct, Art says. I nod to show I got it, but I can tell he's gonna continue. Think back to a time when you made a good decision, Art says. There would have been a gut feeling, an instinct that was pulling on you to make that decision. You may not have been aware of it at the time, and didn't know how to detect it, but it was there. I think I know one, I say. Also, think about a time you made a bad decision, Art says. You probably went against a gut instinct. In the back of your mind, something was pulling on you, telling you it wouldn't work. But out of greed or desperation or pure blind wish you did it, but it failed. I can probably come up with a lot of bad choices, I say. But you were the good one, the good decision. Accepting your offer of working at the gym when I was 16 and angry was the best decision of my life. Art nods thankfully, accepting my commendation. Why did you make the decision at the time? I think back to that Saturday. All week before at the chicken farm, I was working with this guy who'd been there a while. Wouldn't stop hassling me, probably because I was young, or he wanted to stand out as being smart to the other workers. I remember thinking, is this going to be my life for now and for always? I was angry that Saturday morning, and when I saw those kids throw that boy's glasses because he had no money to give them, I ran over without thinking. Then Art came along. I look at Art and feel grateful. At the time I guess I didn't know. But now that I think about it, there was something pulling me that way. Maybe it was your fine dress sense, how your hair was groomed, your poise and stature, your nice blue checked scarf wrapped around your neck, all the... You noticed the scarf? Art jolts forward in his seat, rather excitedly. Yeah. Art leans back satisfied and takes a long sip of tea, then places the cup down. Glad you noticed. Lucy made it. Oh, it's cool. Thanks, Art says, smiling. Please continue with your thought of when we first met. Oh yeah, I say and scratch my chin. I think what also affected me was how you stood and spoke calmly after I'd been in that fight. You commended me for trying to help that young boy. And there was my life, in a mess and going nowhere, and I guess you seemed to have a certainty about you. A dignity. I went off all that. I recognize that now. And your subconscious, Art says, your instinct gave that all to you in an instant. It took all the things around you, and added it up with all the things you knew, and prodded an answer in your direction. It is amazing what the brain can do. Can it do anything? Anything? Your gut subconscious? Can it tell you everything and perfectly? We could be supermen. Art laughs and puts his hands behind his head. No, it's not perfect. Think I said that before. But it's the best we got. The best of our understanding. And it gets us moving, which is critical. Motion is life. We must get moving. And our intuitions are the best we can come up with to get us moving. Then you can adjust as you go. I place my teacup on the desk. There's a lot to learn. There is a lot to learn, but it can be simple and fun, Art says. Note also, your intuition is the best of you, but that doesn't mean it's the best of someone else. If you're in a boxing match, your instinct of when to duck and when to throw a punch will be the best you can do. But if someone else went into a ring for the first time, his intuition, although not as good as yours in that field, would still be the best he could do. It would give him the best time to duck, the best time to throw a punch that he could come up with. It wouldn't be perfect for him, but the best he could do. So your intuitions may not be the very best decision possible in the world, but it will most likely be the best you can deliver. How does a first-time boxer get as good as me? I ask with a smile. A serious smile. Practice in that field, Art says. What we take into our minds is stored in that infinite storage capacity in our brains. Then if you meditate on something you want, really think deeply about it, imagine it, how it feels, the result it would give, then your subconscious will do its very best at adding everything up you ever experienced, everything you know, then hand you its answer. Then we must listen to it. So it's not perfect, but it can get better. And it's the best we can do. Is all this scientific fact? I ask, cocking an eyebrow. Some of it, Art says, but remember, sciences and psychology and everything improves and progresses, still the principles remain unaltered. And right now what I'm saying is coming from me and all I've learned. This is the best I know. I see how that instinct principle applies in boxing or painting or whatever, I say. But how does it apply in life? Art looks intently at me, ready to reveal another lesson. He leans forward and grabs the red Model 69 charger on his desk. He glances up to make sure I'm observing, then he moves the charger, its little wheels squeak as he weaves it between the teacups and glides it across the table. I answered how I apply instinct in life. He just pushed his model charger around, smiled, and then called it a night. The following day he asks me to go for a drive. Now the sun beams down as Art drives me out of town and through the green hills. Emerging between the hills is a big stadium, the Thunderdome. And I begin to understand why Art was pushing around that charger. We take seats high in the stands, the crisp sun warming us as we pull our caps on, order some hot chips and sit back ready to watch the car race. The engines howl and scream. The cars vibrate. I imagine sitting in that racing machine, strapped in, roll bars around you, helmet on, crew in your ear, and moving between cars at speeds so fast the crowd is a blur. The cars take off. Wheels squeal and streaks of rubber are burnt to the track. Art leans forward in silence, rubs his chin. 100 miles an hour in a few seconds. The driver's head is forced back so hard he feels his face warping. He changes gears and acceleration shoves him back again, like an invisible Hulk slammed his hand into his chest. He hits 160 and his vision of the track, cars, crowd is a blur. Straight ahead is what he sees. Engine screams horsepower through his head. Pistons pump. The car vibrates his entire body. His neck, ribs and hips are squeezed into the seat from the G-forces as he corners. Blood flows to his legs, less to his heart. His heart rate climbs to 160. His breath is sharp and taken away as muscles ache for blood. His brain processes information at astonishing speeds with minimal reaction time. His reactions must be quick and precise no matter how much pressure he feels. Split-second decisions are the difference between him winning and losing. Cars roar around the track, and I try to imagine what the drivers are feeling, what it must be like to have that ability. Art finishes his chips and orders a couple of beers. Art's eyes are filled with love for the track as he unscrews the top of his beer, sips, leans back. "Wanted to be a race car driver when I was young," he says. "There are probably many guys, most watching here, who'd love to be a driver," I say. "But that's only for those with the opportunity." "Or for those who make the opportunity," Art says. "You have to be born into this kind of field." Art crosses his leg, places a hand on his knee. "There are things I could have done, could have tried. Only problem is, I listened to everyone else and didn't follow my gut." The two leading cars zoom by. The trailing car makes a move for the inside, and Art grips his knee in excitement, creasing his pants. The driver comes close to the leading car's wheel. The leader cuts across. A collision looms. Suddenly the driver taking the inside lane pulls up and ducks back in behind the leading car. Art points with his bottle slushing in his hand. "How long do you think it took the driver to make the decision to go for that inside pass?" "Maybe he watched him a few laps," I say. "But in the end, at the moment, I guess it was a flash decision." "And how long to make the decision to pull back?" "An instant." In our lives, Art says, fast decisions can be the best for a number of reasons. "Aren't they more dangerous?" I say, watching the cars race with their engines roaring, thinking one bad mistake and they're gone. "Not necessarily," Art says. "In fact, they're most likely the best and the safest. Imagine if a driver out there froze on the track, didn't make a decision, didn't move in any direction. There would be a collision of metal. Be a big bust-up." Art looks at me. "Don't bust up your life." I think of my life and how it could be make or break time, and how I can't decide my next move. How I'm waiting for the right choice. But on the track, being frozen in indecision and fear is fatal. I wonder if it's like that in life. Making fast decisions, Art says. First, you take in some information about the endeavor you're deciding on. Read about it, talk to others who have been there before, gather information as quickly as you can, and when you have enough information, not everything possible but enough, you follow your instinct. That's your subconscious mind adding up all the information and telling you its best choice. Couldn't you come to the same choice the slow way? I say. Not necessarily, Art says. For one, the opportunity might be past. If that driver chasing the leader kept doing laps and calculating his winning move forever, eventually the race would be over, and the chance to win, gone. When Art says the word gone, it runs over me like a rubber tire. If I fail to act, great chances in my life could vanish in an instant. Not only that, Art says, but making decisions uses our energy reserves, uses a chemical in our brains that makes decisions, uses our willpower. The longer you take to make a decision, the more willpower gets drained, and your ability to make a decision will be weakened, and you won't make as good a choice as you could have. But if you decide fast, Art continues, following your intuition's leadings, you keep your emotional reserves and you make a better decision with more willpower in you, and keep more reserves to make more decisions. I rub my head. That was a lot to take in. Is that why I can't decide on any blooming thing at night when my mind is hot and heavy? I can lose my temper if I try decide on things when I'm overwhelmed. That's why it happens, Art says. Best to make big decisions early in the morning, better still to let your intuitions lead you there when they are fresh in the morning. And waiting for your inspirations to strike you doesn't use up any energy. So many fantastic inventions in the world and brilliant life decisions have been made on an instant, a flash, an inspiration, a leading. Art pauses and then points out to the fields beyond the stadium. It can be likened to a tree, he says. Say a sequoia tree. It starts as a seed the size of an oatmeal flake, then grows to over 200 feet. Our inspirations start like a seed, a whisper. Remember we discussed it on the gym's rooftop? Yeah, I think I remember. That's why I use repetition to drum it home, Art says. So our inspirations start as a whisper, a seed, then we build on them and they turn into magnificence. Sometimes we ignore the whisper, the gut feeling, but it can pull on us and get stronger and stronger until we eventually are moved to act. Sad thing is we could have acted straight away and done it sooner. Then perhaps moved forward after that again, and got further with our results. Sadder still, if someone beats us to our idea. Sometimes I get them, the inspirations, I say. I even start something but then I get doubt and stop. A gut instinct brews for a while and then it fades and dies, Art says. The chance is gone. It's not so much doubt stopping you, it's your managerial mind. But we'll discuss that another time. Stick with our instincts for now. The strength of our instinct, our subconscious, grows stronger the more we use it. It's a skill and by using it, it strengthens itself like a muscle, like all things in life. So I need to learn to follow my gut, I say, learn about what it wants me to do as quickly as I can, then act. You're getting it, Art says, patting my back, which is always a good sign. Going back to the driver. He's making decisions based on instinct, based on his gut, based on what his training has subconsciously taught him, and it delivers. There's no time to calculate every procedure and speed, tire traction and all the metrics. He has to make flash decisions. And they're the best decisions he can make. And subconsciously, they usually account for all those variables. He calculates them instantly. Hitting the brakes. I think of how the driver chose to go for the pass but then pulled back. Yeah, but he pulled out of that last decision, I say. Doesn't mean it was a bad choice to begin with, Art says. Think about it, if he decides to never go for the pass, to never make the decision, will he win? I shake my head. No. So he's going for the win, it was a good decision. Not going for the win is a bad decision. I throw back some more beer. Then shake my head and look at my feet. I'm not clear on this. But like I said, he still pulled out. Hit the brakes. Art nods slowly, contemplatively agreeing. There is a time to cancel a decision. I watch the cars again, and contemplate if I'm up to the task of making Camilla happy for the rest of her life. Should I back out of that decision, back out from marrying Camilla? When do we pull out of a decision? Art faces me. You change the decision when the reason for changing it is greater than the reason for making it. Art goes back to feasting his eyes on the cars like I totally understood his words. What do you mean? I ask. That driver trying to pass, his decision was to pass the car and take the lead. Which was good, and there's not much you would go back on that decision with except for what was about to happen, and what was that? They were going to crash. That's it. Art says with some punch, resembling a crash with his voice. So his reason for reversing the decision, which was a collision, was greater than his decision of taking the lead. Other than that, you stick to your decision. What about asking Camilla to marry me, I say, when would I go back on that? Well, you made the call, Art says, you would only go back on it for a major reason, something greater than wanting to live your lives together. Not small issues. There are always small issues, tons of them. You work them out like passing and dodging cars in a race. You don't avoid the race. So can you think of a reason you would change your decision in not asking for Camilla's hand? I take a sip of the ice-cold beer and think of Camilla. Her brown hair flipping over her smiling and always laughing face. There's nothing really. Only if she told me she was cheating on me, then I guess she's deciding to go with someone else. Other than that, there's nothing that can compare to us being together. That's right, Art says. So when your gut tells you a decision, follow it, and only change if there's a greater reason for doing so. If you were explaining it with mathematics, you'd say the reason you went for a decision was because on a scale of 1 to 10 for being good, it was a 7. But you reverse it if something comes up on a scale of 1 to 10 for being bad is an 8 or higher. A simple example is, say you wanted to walk across the street to buy ice cream. Say that's a 6 for being good. You made the decision to walk across the road, you step onto the pavement, then a big truck rumbles down the street. What do? I imagine a big truck coming to squash me. You stop. Because you were going to get flattened by big rubber tires if you didn't. That's a 10 for being bad, by the way, Art says with a chuckle. But afterward, once that hiccup is sorted, follow through on your decision. Art points forward. Look. The car coming second goes for the inside pass again. He moves in earlier. Has more speed. The leading driver tries to close the gap, but the driver coming second is already inside and passes and takes the lead. He waited but still followed his decision, Art says. Point understood, I say. How do you think the driver knows when to change gears, hit the brakes, hit the accelerator, gain tire traction, and how long does he take to make all those decisions? Art says. All in an instant, I say. All instinct, all following his gut. Feel like another beer? Art asks playfully, easing up on the lessons. Absolutely. Who told you that? Art asks, flashing back to serious face and his lessons. But I stand and wave to the kid with the red cap selling beer. Who told me what? That you wanted another beer. I pay for the beers this time and hand one to Art, and sit and sink the ice-cold beer into my gut. I smile. My gut told me. Our bodies and minds are like designer tools that tell us what we need. We just have to listen to them, Art says. You had a flash that said you wanted a beer, and you followed it. You stood to wave the young kid down because your instinct told you that you had to stand to get his attention, then you handed him the money, handed me a beer and sat back down and drank it. You didn't need to get out a pen and paper and write all the pros and cons and procedures and wind velocity and sun direction and cloud movement and the rotation of the Earth's axis to know that you wanted a beer and how to get it. Your instinct told you, and you followed it without hesitation and got instant results. I puff a big load of air, laugh and take a long sip. Then laugh some more. Yeah, but that's normal living, just life. I didn't really make a decision. Art crosses over his other leg. Just life, you said? That's exactly it. Life can be that simple and that fast-moving and that productive, if we follow our instincts. Our mind has all we need. It will make the decision for us automatically, and it will be the best decision we're capable of making. So if we follow it, follow our instinct that tells us this is the path, we will more often make fast, brilliant decisions that enrich our lives. I watch the driver coming last as he goes round the bend. What if that's me? Coming last in life. What if I'm no good at instinct? What if your instinct isn't that good? I ask. The best you got. It's still the best you got, Art says. And you can feed your mind with more information, then your instinct will grow in its ability to hand you better decisions. Yesterday we mentioned a boy who was raised by wolves. If he sat in that chair your butt is sitting in and was told to order some beers, how do you think he'd do? Guess he wouldn't know what beer is, who was carrying it, and how to pay for it. Right, Art says, but once he had experienced it then he could. Even if you just pointed the kid carrying the beer out to him and gave him some cash, he'd probably go over and sort something out. It'd be a struggle, but his instinct would get him there. But your instinct's much faster and much smoother when your mind has been trained. Art points to the track. How do you think he'd do driving one of them cars? Not too good. That's right, Art says. You'd have to teach him how to start the car, use the accelerator, brakes, watch other cars. But when he takes off he's still driving on instinct. As we all do. When you're driving in traffic, and a car suddenly hits the brakes in front of you, or a boy runs across the road chasing a ball, what do? Hit the brakes. On pure instinct, I say, realizing that is the best decision to make in that critical circumstance, so it makes sense it will work with all circumstances. That's it, Art says. Follow your instinct. It's always just about the best decision that you can come up with. The cars zip around, dodging and weaving, the drivers running on instinct. The ones who are best trained and best skilled drive the best. I couldn't drive out there, neither could the average guy or gal. And a boy who'd been trained by wolves would have an accident in no time. I guess that relates to my mind and its ability to make decisions in life. If I don't train it, it won't be as good. It would be as good as a bad race car driver is on the track. But on the track of life, if I train my mind, I could drive through the track of life, rip through the gears, keep my revs up and make much better decisions. I finish the beer, then look toward Art. Maybe I should read a few books. Good idea, Joey. You don't need to read a lot, 20 minutes a day would be fine. It will add up over a year. And if you're going into some field or some endeavor, read a little extra on that first. I might grab a book on crafting surfboards, I say, thinking of improving my knowledge. Just for fun, and for making a start at reading. Very good, Art says. And remember to observe life and learn from it, and listen to others, learn from them too. Maybe I should ask those who are the wisest, who have the best instincts, what to do with my life. I could ask them to make a decision for me. Art laughs hard, causing a few heads to turn to see what's so funny. Art slaps me on the shoulder, looks me in the eye. No. Don't do that. The manager, yelling and screaming, waving and pointing. The blue-covered paperback lies spread on its guts, enjoying the sun as it sits on the windowsill, its pages dog-eared and creased. The carving plane sits firm in my hands, and I glide it across the foam of my surfboard blank. I'll finish the book, eventually. I kneel, blow the excess foam from the board, run my hand across it and make sure I'm shaping the curve of the rails to perfection, just like that book said, although I tweak the design. The door opens behind me. Nice to see my storage room in good use, Art says as he walks in, prods equipment and pieces out of his way with his feet and inspects my makeshift workshop. I see you have the place neat as well. Art glances at me, ensuring I understand his sarcasm. I shrugged. Art moves through the maze of my perfectly placed gear and grabs one of my prototypes off the wall. Nice, he says. But it looks a little off shape. I place the plane on the workbench. They're getting better. And it gives me something to do with my spare mornings. Good you're using time and not squandering it, Art says and throws me a wrapped sandwich. Are you ready for our trip? You can eat while I drive. Art drives me to Travel Experts Travel Company. People flick through glossy brochures, chatter to the travel agents. Art asks for a brochure that broadly covers the world of travel, and he takes it with us as he drives me to a soccer game. We sit behind the coach's box. Before the game starts, Art hands me the travel brochure and tells me to flick through it. I flip through the colorful pages and see architecture, mountains, ancient ruins and golden beaches surrounded by palm trees and clear blue waters. Where would you like to go? Art says. Cheapest. I laugh. What if all expenses are paid, and you could go anywhere with Camilla, maybe for a honeymoon? Art smiles and nudges me. Where would you choose based on scanning those few pages? What does your instinct tell you? It is simple and clear. The beaches and clear waters. Now what if I told you no, Art says. No, you want to see the mega cities. Take in the smog. The busy streets. The traffic jams. You'll love it. I wouldn't love it, I say and close the brochure. Some do, Art says, and that's good for them. But you are your own man, and you know what you like and what Camilla likes, so you don't ask anyone to make a decision for you. Your instinct will always give you your best possible choice for you, because it's coming from you and delivering what you need to be happy. It's designed for you. It is a part of you. It's your friend, so listen to him or her. So that's why I don't let others make the decision for me, I say, because I know myself and what makes me happy better than anyone else. That's it, Art says. But there's even more to it. You're better off making a poor decision yourself than someone making a better decision for you. I think of all the bad choices I've made in life. I wish someone had decided those better for me. That makes no sense, I say. You're thinking too short-term, Art says, making a narrow space with his hands. When you make your own decision, there are many benefits. For starters, you get practice at it, and you get better at it, and can make better decisions in the future. Would you become a better race car driver if you always let a professional take the wheel? I nod. I see your point. In life, if you always get someone else to take the wheel to decide for you, you will never get good at decisions yourself, Art says. And if that person is not around the next time you need to decide something, you will have no idea what to do. Making your own decisions causes you to grow, so you can make your own decisions. I get that. So making my own decisions improves my ability to make decisions. Exactly, Art says. Also, when you make your own decision, you feel a sense of inner pride and self-worth. You grow up and grow in confidence, in character. If someone else makes the decision for you, even if it's a success, inside you will shrink back and feel you need someone to look after you. You'll lose confidence and self-worth to move forward in life. You won't take on new projects and new challenges because you won't have the confidence, and you won't know how. I really see the advantage of making my own choices, I say, feeling a little regret I haven't started sooner. There's more, Art says. There is always more with art. Also, it builds your character. Good qualities. And good qualities are far grander than any amount of money you may have received by letting someone else make your decisions. Money used incorrectly leads to things, and things rust. Good qualities lead to good relationships. And good relationships enrich our lives, they are a core to life. You'd be much happier on a small wooden table with a simple meal with loved ones, than in a palace, sitting at a gold table with the biggest feast, but all on your own. I nod. That is true. I did live in isolation for a while, and it wasn't the best. Decisions build character, Art says. Character produces fine qualities enhance relationships, relationships enhance life. Okay, I say. You're drumming that into me. I have to mature and make my own decisions so I can live a good and purposeful life. Yes, Art says. So gather advice and information, listen to others' experience, but make your own decision. It's crucial to life. I roll up the brochure and stick it in my bag. So what are the travel agents for? Advice, Art says, then comes the pointed finger. But not the decision. The players stride onto the ground and line up as the home team's music plays and the crowd sings. Then the players walk past each other and shake hands, and one coach sits in the clear perspex box in front of us while the other remains standing in his suit. I've never been to a soccer game, I say, interesting to see the players' skills. How their instincts work. You're catching on. Art points to the coach in the black suit, his knee bopping like it possesses a jukebox. But we're not just here to watch the players. The one who guides the players. There's a shrill burst from the ref's whistle, and the game kicks off. Art leans into me. Going back to the travel agents and your choice of holiday, just to make sure my point is clear. You ask the travel agents for advice, what's good, what's a good deal, safety, price, which places have high recommendation, popular attractions, all that. You take in the knowledge and get an understanding. But you don't ask, well, which place do I go? Because they don't know you as well as you know you. They might guess, but it might not be that accurate, or they might say what they would like themselves. Such as, I went here and I loved it, so you should go too. It's the biggest city in the world. But that's not for me though. Right, Art says. In all areas of life you can ask others for information, advice, know how they did things, what they like, what worked for them. They give you information. Then your mind will work out what parts of that information best fits you, and then your instinct, subconscious, gut, whatever you want to call it, will give you its best possible decision for you. Art orders 2 hot beef rolls, which I bite into, and the hot gravy is rich and fantastic. The floodlights beam onto the soccer field, and Art points forward as the coach in the black suit walks to the edge of the field. What's the coach doing? Art says. The coach stands at the edge of the field with his hands in his tight suit pant pockets. He watches his team move the ball forward, then his hands snap from his pockets and he motions downfield and begins yelling. He's yelling and moving and swishing his arms. I lean across to Art, keeping my eye fixed on the coach. He's throwing his arms around and screaming. Art grins. Or there's another word for it. I'll give you a hint. It's the title of his position. Coach. Art nods, but in a sideways angled nod. Well, in soccer it's more common they're called managers. Right on. He's managing. No doubt his team has a well-defined game plan. The way they position, interlock in movement, create space, pass to the correct position with the right pace. How they form and hustle when defending, close the spaces, nullify the movement of the better players. That's a lot to manage. Gravy drips from my roll, and I move my leg and it splashes the concrete. I can barely manage my gravy roll. Art smiles. Yes, it's a handful for the manager. But most of the players, once they learn the system, can run the plays on instinct. The more they learn and understand and practice, the stronger their instinct and better decisions they make. A player before us glides down the wing, his boots thud on the grass, and he shimmies past a defender. Some are better than others, I say. Art glances at me and the floodlights strike his eyes. Some practice more than others. He smiles and I get the point. Genius can simply be consistent hard work. Still, Art continues, some have more natural ability. Everyone excels in different areas, that's part of life. As long as we use our strengths and have the assistance of others for their strengths. But that's a bit of a side point. Back to the managing aspect. It's the third part of making decisions. I nearly choke on gravy, sucking it down the wrong hole. I didn't know we covered 2 parts. Yeah, we did, Art says. Step 1 was taking in knowledge through observation, experience, reading, the building of your mind. Right. And part 2 was? Art asks. Using the information, I say, by following your gut, your instinct, listening and being aware of your intuitions. And then? Art asks. The third step. Ah. You mean like monitoring or managing your decisions, I say. So the coach, manager, is part 3. Yep, Art says. Once you've trained your mind, which is an ongoing process of progress, then you listen to and follow your instinct and make the decision. The managing comes next. Managing the decision. The manager is standing by the field, his hands back in his pockets. So he's managing the players' decisions, I say. But aren't the players out there themselves making split-fast decisions? How does he manage that? Once they pass, it's too late to change it. That's true, Art says, but the whole team movement and structure is a system, sets of movement when they possess the ball, how fast to break, when to press, when to squeeze the opposition into a corner, and how to create space for yourself. They're all movement decisions. And the players know them well, and make split-second decisions to implement them. The coach jumps and yells and his jacket creases round his neck as he points backfield. 2 central players move back, even though the team still has the ball. He moved them, I say. Almost, if not every time we make a decision it won't go perfect, Art says. It will need adjusting to succeed. They may have been moving forward on a set move, but the coach saw something that needed adjusting. That's what we do with our decisions. It seems way complicated. I could never do that. Yes, you can. And you're already very good at it. A little too good, in fact. I shake my head with conviction. I don't think so. When you were at the gym that night, after you bought the ring for Camilla, you were talking to yourself in the mirror. What were you doing? I look at Art and repeat what he just said. I was talking to myself in the mirror. Art points forward as the coach calls more instructions. What's the manager doing now? I rough my hand through my hair. I guess he's talking. You guess? Art asks, followed by a slowly rising eyebrow that is demanding definiteness. He is talking, I say. Talking to the players. Managing them. I know what you're going to say, that I was talking to myself in the mirror and managing myself. But I wasn't managing. I was being weak and talking myself out of it, protecting myself from failure. Or hiding from a challenge. Like the manager when he pulled those 2 defenders back, he was protecting the team from failure, in their case conceding a goal, Art says. He doesn't go overboard and stop the entire team though, he uses balance. You overmanaged and pulled back too heavy. You pulled all your players back. I see your point, I say. But still, I'm not good at managing myself. I stink. You could do with a shower, Art says and smiles. But you're good at managing. You see, the manager inside of us mainly runs on instinct and is designed to keep us safe, to make sure things work, to keep us safe from danger. When you make a decision, that manager will jump from his seat, run to the side of the field and yell instructions. The key is to listen to him. That screaming voice inside my head always scares me away. But if I listen to him, I say, I always back out of my decisions. Listen to him in a way that supports your decision, Art says. Say you decide to go rock climbing with Camilla, then your managerial mind kicks in and tells you all the dangers, and you back out because your manager instinct is strong. Some are naturally strong. But you need to learn to use your manager mind. You don't back out unless… Art looks at me and raises his eyebrows. I know what he wants me to say. Unless the reason for ending the decision is greater than the reason for making the decision. Art smiles, well pleased. So if you found a place to go rock climbing and got a report that said the place is currently unstable and there are risks of rock slides, would you go? Of course not, too dangerous. Right, Art says. The reason for backing out, possible serious injury, was greater than the reason for the decision, having fun rock climbing. Doesn't mean you have to back out altogether. Just find another place. If that one is fine, then you listen to your manager mind, which will tell you other things that could go wrong. You could get lost driving there, lost walking to the place, so you make sure you have necessary safety equipment and tell people before you go. The manager takes care of all that. You listen to him, and he makes it safe and helps you implement the decision. That's a very simple and obvious illustration, I know. But we forget to use our manager in all our decisions. I take my eyes from the game and level them on Art. So it's not so much as my having self-doubt, but I'm managing. Many say it's self-doubt, but it's managing. Making the move safe, Art says. So don't think it's doubt and you can't do it. Understand it's managing and making the move safe for you. Give another example, I say, wanting it to sink in. Like if you want to buy your first home, Art says, you might start with a great idea, then think about it and get doubts because your manager mind comes up with all these failure paths and ways it could go wrong. But you shouldn't back out because your instinct wanted to buy a home, so that's the decision. You now use the manager to make sure you buy the house the best way you possibly can. You punch in the numbers, get information on real estate, develop a good understanding of real estate value, then go for it. Your self-doubt is your manager managing the risks, helping you to implement your decision better. So if I listen to my manager mind with buying a home, I say, it would help prevent me from paying too much interest on a loan, too much for the property, perhaps protect me from a bad property. Yep, Art says. Use the manager wisely, and he helps implement decisions better. Just don't let him scare you off with his yelling and screaming. My manager's been real heavy on me lately with Camilla, I say, feeling it weighing me down. And I've also been thinking about starting a small business if Camilla and I were to marry. But I know it would fail, so I'll probably back out. What might fail, the marriage or the business? Art says, smiling, making a joke. We both laugh, then get knocked in our seats as the home team score. The crowd jumps and we stand with them. The scoring player runs to the coach and they hug. The manager taps his back and the player, number 8, runs back onto the field. Art places his hand on my shoulder. See the benefits of a good manager. I nod as we sit. I look at the manager and his expertise, his experience, helping the actions of the team reach their highest level. I huff, then tug on Art's sleeve. But my manager doesn't help me, I say. I know what you're saying with my mind, but still, my manager's haywire and bombastic. Controlling the bombastic. Keep him under control, Art says. There are a couple of great exercises that I used when I was learning, and I'm sure they will work for you too. One thing is to be in a quiet place, such as in bed at night, or your favorite chair or couch. Get calm and imagine you are talking to a friend about your problem. I talk to my friends about their problems, I say, but it's hard to talk to yourself. That's because you get clouded by emotion, stressed out and don't think clearly, Art says, explaining me perfectly. So imagine you are you, and you're talking to your friend about the problem. So I imagine my friend has my problem, and I help talk him through it. Right on, Art says. You will think clearer that way. And if you master that, you can simply imagine another you talking to you. Counsel yourself. Listen to yourself. You will be surprised that a lot of the time your mind will have the answer if you calm yourself and talk to yourself and let it flow from you. I actually think I do that when I'm crafting my surfboards. I should try it with more things. Sounds interesting, I say. I'll try it next time. Remember, sometimes these new techniques take time to master, Art says. Be patient. But not to an excess, you must get these tools working. And if you master both of those ways of talking through your problems, you can try my favorite technique. Your favorite? This should be interesting. Art crosses his legs. It's quite interesting. You're thinking my thoughts, I tell Art. Art smiles, then says, my favorite technique. I like to listen to my favorite people throughout history, and some famous people alive today. You read minds? I say. Don't be ridiculous. Then how do you listen to your favorite people? I say. Especially if they're not alive. Well, we've all. Art glances at me. Well, most of us have read about ones from times past. Take Lincoln, for example. Abraham Lincoln. Know that one? Yes. Honest Abe. We've read about him, heard about him, so we know his personality somewhat. And we've all seen movies of him. So if I'm facing a situation that's high pressure, and I need to make a decision, I imagine him sitting with me, and I let my mind make him talk to me. I hear his voice. He tells a small joke and relaxes me, then tells me a short parable to illustrate the problem, and has a nice solution for me. So he's talking to you, I say, advising you. Well, I guess it's really me. It's all in my mind. What I've learnt and taken in from the world, and what I know about Lincoln. But when it flows from him, it comes out with his personality, and I do feel it has his wisdom in it. It's his wisdom that I have learnt, tailored to myself somewhat, and by using my imagination to let it flow from Lincoln, I access it more freely and instantaneously. I don't need to sort through pages and pages of books, or spend hours on the internet trying to find a situation that Lincoln went through that was similar to mine. It's already there in my mind, and this is how I access it as efficiently as possible. It may not be perfect, but it's the best I can do. Do you do that with anyone else? I ask. Oh yes, many people, Art says. I try to fit the person for the situation, or try a few characters. I also like to use movie stars. In case you need to jump from an exploding building and bust through a window of an adjacent building. Art smiles. If that be the case. But seriously, there are some actors who always appear wise, or they have played wise characters from the past. Sometimes it's not the actors themselves but the characters they play. It's a great skill how the best actors really go inside another character and become that character and display that character's wisdom and qualities. We all have that skill. We just have to access it. I like inspirational characters who have overcome great obstacles with great hustle, belief, and determination. Some movie stars play characters who are always funny and positive, and find the bright side of things and make me laugh. I like to talk to them when I'm down. So if I need laughter or inspiration or wisdom, I imagine the right character talking to me, firing me up. Then I thank them and get moving. Get moving, I say. How long do you listen to them for? Balance is the key, Art says. I listen a while but try to get moving as fast as I can. As soon as they have a solution, I go for it. Meditation and hesitation. Too much meditation causes hesitation, Art says. I'm guilty of that, I say. If we think of all the possibilities and ponder incessantly, we come up with too much information and an overload of choice, Then our vision gets clouded, and we become overwhelmed and can't decide. Can't move. I lean back and think on that for a moment. I do that. I think and get stuck dead. Use your instinct, Art says. Perceptions is another term. Perceive, by that I mean use all your senses to take in all the information as quickly as possible, then your mind will lead you to an answer, a direction. Perceive what that answer is, then act on that. And adjust along the way as necessary. I've been guilty of being stuck in thought for too long, I say. Mentors. Another good thing that can help you manage your mind and perceptions is to find a good mentor, Art says. A mentor who has experienced what you want to do. The mentor can guide you personally. Art points toward the soccer manager. Like that manager out there, he was a good player, and he's had a full career and worked under other great coaches, so he can mentor the players. And the older players can mentor the younger players as well. I think of Camilla, my board's boxing, maybe doing bookkeeping full-time. Man, I don't know. I've got no one to ask for guidance with those things. What if my goals don't involve a team, and I don't have mentors near me? Mentors work with all areas of life and goals, not just team environments, Art says. Say it's your passion to open and run a coffee shop. You should read about it. Get a job at a coffee shop. Don't do it for the money. Perform as many roles at the coffee shop as you can and learn all you can. And learn from the manager who's running it. Then open your own coffee shop. You can go to some of the most successful coffee shops in town and other towns and ask them for advice. You should offer to pay them. It would be money well spent. This idea sounds like it would work. If I could make it happen and decide what on earth I'm doing. Anything else you can tell me about mentors? How to reach the best? The absolute best mentors, tops of their field, will be almost impossible for you to reach, Art says. But many of them have books or programs you can buy, or biographies or movies about them. Use these tools and apply them. Learn all you can. Then go to the best mentor you can find in that field who is accessible. They will have more respect for you, because you have shown initiative and have already attained knowledge. They won't teach you the basics because you can learn them yourself if you take the initiative and get moving. So I need to do all I can first, I say. Yes, do that first, Art says, then they will see you are serious. And they don't have much time themselves to give, and it is rude and selfish of us to expect them to drop their entire life just to help us live our life. We have to take responsibility with our lives. It's not someone else's responsibility. They can simply point us in the right direction, and that only takes a fraction of their time. I'd hate to become a user. I don't want to use people's time. No, don't be a leech, Art says, and I believe that to be a fitting picture. Don't go to people to suck everything you can from them. They'll see you're doing that and be turned off from you. You need to be a giving person. I sink my head into my hands and think, then realize everyone might think I'm crying, so I snap up straight. But how can I give to them? I have nothing to give. And I'm looking for them to mentor me, not me mentor them. We all have something to give, Art says. It comes with your approach. You need to turn your thinking around. Perhaps ask yourself something like, how can I give to this person? Add something to their life? Perhaps you could help their business grow in some way, promote it, offer a service. Maybe you have a small idea you could give them to improve something. We all have good ideas from different angles that can add to someone or something. Or perhaps you could offer to work for them for free, depending on what line of business it is. Try to give them more time than they will give you. The soccer manager glances at his watch. Funny how Art mentions time and the manager is checking his watch. Anyway, how do I give someone more time? How do you mean? Well, you could work for them for a month, Art says, and they could give you a few minutes of advice each day. But that advice you receive will probably be more valuable than your month, because they have more experience, more wisdom, and can offer more value in a shorter time. But both win that way. I lean back and watch the game for a moment. Someone always loses or draws in soccer, and the loser is never happy. It'd be great if they both could have the joy of winning. That's how it should be in life. I look at Art and nod, letting him know what he's saying is sinking in. And it's best to learn as much as I can about the project or goal or business or whatever it is first, so they don't have to waste time training me, and I can help them straight away. That's it, do what you can with what you have first, Art says. Then you can give to the other as they give to you. And don't ask questions you can find answers to yourself. That's lazy and being dependent on others. A bad habit. One we all need to grow out of. If you are always dependent on others, you will never do much with your life. We need to become self-reliant. Then we can help ourselves and others. I'd like to help others more, I say, but I don't have much to give. Giving builds the capacity to give, Art says. Relationships are about giving. It's about what you can give in a relationship, not what you can get. So start giving. Be a giving person, more than just a receiver. If you're always a receiver, you will always be dependent on others and looking to others to provide for you. It's truly nice to receive help and gifts, and we should thank whoever helped us with our full hearts and let them feel the joy of their giving. So let others give to you, but give yourself. True power and happiness is in the giving. How exactly? I ask. I mean, I know it feels good to give a gift or lend a hand. But that doesn't really empower me. Yes it does, Art says and motions his hands close together once more. Again you're thinking too narrow-sighted. It's not in the one act of giving that empowers us. That one act is good, feels good to do and helps the other person, but it does more than that. It builds strength and character. It makes you grow as a person. You feel empowered when you help, and you must grow to be able to help, and that builds the inner power. And that inner power and strength and character you build and develop will empower you to fulfill your own goals, which will make you happy. Then you can help more people, and it just keeps on growing. For sure. I get that, I say. I don't need to feel inferior and unequipped to give. The more I give, the more I grow and can give to others and give to myself. Still, I'd like more help. Go back to the mentors. How do I find a mentor? You need to get out there, Art says. Look them up online, go to businesses, go to events that are about the industry you're into, and talk to people, get to know people. Like all things, it takes hustle. That's why you've got to love what you are doing, or you won't have the drive to keep going. And that's another place where listening to your gut comes into play. It knows what you love to do. So do that. What happens if I'm not sure what I would love to do? I ask. If you're stuck or going through a flat spot in life and not sure what you love to do, try thinking about your childhood. What did you do when you had free time to do as you wish? What gave you your kicks? That's what you love. It might not be the exact same thing, but it will be the same core thing, same principle. Or ask yourself good questions such as, what would I do if I would be paid $1 million a year for no matter what work it was? Or what would I like to do if I already had enough money to never worry about money again? The answer will be things you love. I say and rub my chin. That's what you do when you're pretending to understand. Art looks at me, his eyes seeing through my fingers and chin. What do you do in your free time? He asks. My shoulders jig by themselves. Guess I watch sports. Or a favorite show. Work on a surfboard. I dunno. Shoulders jig again. Watch movies. Movies are fine in moderation, Art says. Take note of the movie characters who inspire you. They are telling you who you would like to be. But have you considered if there would be more benefits in using that time to try things? What things? Things you might like, different activities, Art says. Most people come home from work at 5 or 6, then sit and watch television, or do something that numbs their mind, eases the pain of the daily grind. But instead it could be far better to grind that time, try many different things you think you might love and be good at. So that's how I find what I love. My passion. Right on. Just do stuff, Art says. Anything. Get moving. Try it all. Do whatever comes to your mind and heart, then you will quickly find what you love, your passion. A woman says to another woman who is doing what she loves, You're so lucky to have found what you love to do for a job. The so-called lucky woman smiles back thinking, I wasn't lucky. I used my free time and worked. I grab my chin again and nod, but this time it's not a show. I get the idea. I'll try that, try it all. Thoughts of how much more fun than television this could be flood into my mind. But I just realized something about mentors. You've been my mentor, my life mentor, for free. No, Art says, it's not for free. You were cleaning my gym at no pay, remember? You were helping me to begin with, and helping me now by being a good friend, and being someone I can pass my experience on to. And you do the bookkeeping, which I know you hate. Why make me do it if you know I hate it? I ask. You need the money and it builds discipline, Art says. Then when you find what you love to do, and you should find what you love to do, that discipline will excel at work you love to stratospheric levels. Excelling at a work I love at a stratospheric level sounds good, I say. It will be when you find it, Art says. Back to mentors. You did one other thing that was very important in keeping a mentor. I'm listening. Art smiles and points to the manager as a player comes to him. See how the manager is talking in his ear. He's got his hand over his mouth because teams employ lip readers to intercept the message. That's interesting. Art waves his hand. Sorry, not the point. Oh. Point is, Art says, how do you think the manager would feel if after giving the player instructions, the player went back out there and didn't do anything he was told? He'd probably tub him off the field, I say. And I guess if he kept ignoring him, he would probably sell the player. He sure would, Art says. See, you gave the answer to keeping a mentor when I first brought it up. You said, I'm listening, which you have over the years. Sometimes you were a little aggravated, but you always listened and tried to apply it. You did apply it your way, which is important. That's the balance I keep bringing up. Listening, learning, then applying it tailored exactly to you, by your intuition and gut feelings. Tailored for me, I say. Something is always best when it's tailored. Listen to your gut and tailor your life, Art says and uncrosses his legs. Now about this business you're thinking of. If it's a strong hunch, a strong feeling in your gut, then it's probably a good move, a good direction. Your self-doubt, fear, your manager is simply showing you ways it could fail. So you use your manager mind to prevent failure, and as you move forward with the idea, different things will come up that will need managing. Simply manage them. Sometimes we get afraid of our manager because he yells so loud and waves his arms so fierce, but he has good intentions. Use him to support our ideas. When he shows us ways it could fail, use that and avoid failure. When he shows us ways to make it succeed, press forward in that direction. That sounds simple, I say, but I don't know how to listen to him. I can't manage my manager, so to speak. I've always been hopeless at decisions. I procrastinate, change my mind, start then stop, then do nothing most of the time because I'm too overwhelmed. I couldn't use my manager to manage a big thing like a business. Simple focus is power. Simplify your life, Art says and leans back with ease like he's implying simplifying your life is easy. Make your life about a few core things that are important to you, such as your relationships, health and fitness, personal growth, your work or business that you love, giving to others, plus a few choice interests or hobbies. Then concentrate on them. And concentrate on them in the strongest core areas. I open my arms, then drop them to my seat. What on blazes does that mean? Art feels his silver whiskers. Maybe this is a tough question. It's simple, really. Oh. Art glances at me. Oh, what? Nothing, never mind. Continue. That was an oh I was probably meant to think and not say aloud. Art gives me a look like I'm gaga. In each of your core areas of life, Art says, there will be core ways to work on them and improve them. I nod like I get it. Then glance up. And choose the core ways, not the small extra ways, Art says. For example, say you're working on your fitness. Core ways of improving your fitness are working out, eating healthy, learning about health. Concentrate on them the most. You could do heaps of tiny activities, such as buying wristbands, reading countless health magazines without doing anything, buying new exercise clothes, everything but exercise, eat healthily, and some small learning. The core areas will take the least time and get the best results. What about a business? I say. Depends on the business, Art says. But try to find your core areas that have the biggest impact. Say it might be providing the best possible product or service or material, depending on your business. And of course, working on improving yourself, your qualities, your character is core for any business, so you cover 2 of your main core areas there. Last, you might choose marketing. Whatever your business though, find the core areas that have the biggest impact. If walking block after block in putting out flyers has little impact, don't do it. Do what has the biggest impact. That goes with all things in life, not just business. So how do I simplify my life? You confused me, I ask, smiling. Art looks at me and frowns like it's my fault. Your few core values and your few core ways to improve the core values. That enriches and simplifies your life. Core values. Core procedures within the values. Got it. Sure you have, champ, Art says and rubs my shoulders. Don't get caught up on heaps of little things that don't add to your life, then you'll have less stupid decisions to make. Little decisions will drain your energy for the bigger ones. Don't get entangled in small things, decide fast on them or forget about them. We can't spend loads of time on 50 small things per day, or we will have no time for what is important. Art looks at me and says in serious tone, don't become a master of clutter. I nod. Forget what's insignificant, Art says. Concentrate on your more important decisions. It sounds simple, I say. I'll give it a go. Start practicing. Start small. Start small. Start small, Joey. If you're really bad at managing decisions, start with ice cream. Ice cream? Go in an ice cream store, Art says, check out the flavors and just go off gut instinct for the one you like. Then go a little bigger with your decisions. What tie you like, clothes, sunglasses, vacations, cars. Get in the habit of listening to and being aware of your hunches, inspirations, gut feelings of things you want to do. Then do them. If you feel self-doubt, do it anyway. Just use that doubt, the manager, to make that decision the best it can be. And if it turns out bad, don't worry, that's practice, and you will get better. Art smiles at my concentrating face, trying to take it all in. But most will be pretty good decisions, he says. Because you're getting moving, and your instinct is handing you the best it can from everything it knows. Everything I know? I ask. Yep, everything you know is coming forth through your instinct, your subconscious, to hand you the best possible decision it can provide, Art says. So make that decision and manage it. The more you make decisions, the faster you will become at the process, and the better you will become at the process. In between my gym and training young boxers like yourself, I also consult for successful businesspeople and entrepreneurs. They all make decisions fast and follow the gut. I just realized I made a flash decision last night. I was walking a few blocks from my unit the other night on my way home from the supermarket with some groceries, I say. A house in the distance had its lights on, and there were people out the front. I stopped, then took the other block home. Something just flashed in me that something was wrong. I thought I was just being a chicken, and being a boxer, I should stroll on by. But still, I went around the other way. When I came past the block from the side street and looked back, 2 police cars were there. I thought it was coincidence and I laughed, but it sounds like it was my instinct telling me something. Art nods as he watches the players boot around the ball. Instinct will do that, Art says. Our instinct warns us of dangers. It is the sum of everything we know, and it comes forth in flashes when we need it. So listen to it. Follow the decision. Nothing may have happened at that house if you walked by, but still, it's a good illustration of how our instinct works. It showed you there was something wrong. There are numerous reports of people escaping hostile situations, simply because of following some instinct that overtook them. They may have been in extreme danger, maybe being kidnapped or about to be murdered, then they got this sudden feeling to act in a certain way, and when they acted upon the instinct, it saved them. It guided them to safety. It's the intuition, the instinct of the mind making the best decision for you. But how could intuition know that? I ask. I mean, it hasn't had any training in the field of protecting yourself. Most of the time, these things are a one-off incident. You can't prepare for that. The mind takes in all information as we go through life. The more we observe, the stronger it becomes, Art says. Every encounter with another human, every movie we watch, book we read, radio broadcast, news event, all these things your mind will subconsciously take in and understand. And then when you experience something, it automatically puts the sum of all these experiences and knowledge together, and comes up with the understanding, the solution, the decision to make. So it can understand when we're in a dangerous situation, and help to protect us. I lean back in the chair, and watch the remainder of the game with Art. The manager flaps his arms around, jumps, shoves his hands back in his pockets and yells and chews gum. Jaws hammering like pistons. The players listen and the team works as a unit, making fast, brilliant decisions.